Welcome to the February 27th School Board meeting. This meeting is now in session. Please rise as our Career Center Air Force JROTC cadets present the colors.
Color guard, 10, hut, carry, colors, forward, march. Color guard, halt, freeze at colors. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, colors, forward, march.
You may be seated. Tonight, we begin the budget process for the 2020-2021 school year with a presentation of the interim superintendent's proposed fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. Following the presentation, we will take a brief break and then reconvene in budget work session number 1. Before Ms. Johnson begins, I'd like to give an overview of our budget process. After the budget is presented tonight, the board will hold a series of work sessions over the next several weeks as we work to finalize the school board's proposed budget and then the final budget. While the board does not hear public comment at this meeting, we do welcome community engagement throughout the budget process, and there are several opportunities to provide feedback. We will hold 2 public hearings on the budget. The first will be a public hearing on the interim superintendent's proposed budget on March 25th. Following that hearing, we'll continue to work on the budget, and on April 2nd, we will approve the school board's proposed budget. The second public hearing will be held on April 30th on the school board's proposed budget, and then the board will adopt our final budget on May 7th. In addition to the public hearings, community members may also speak on the budget during citizen comment on non-agenda items at our regular board meetings. The full schedule of board meetings and budget work sessions are posted on our website. We are now ready for the budget presentation. Ms. Johnson.
Good evening, Madam Chair and school board members. I am presenting the interim superintendent's proposed budget through the lens of someone who has had many years of experience in APS as a classroom teacher, assistant principal, assistant superintendent, and now in the interim position as superintendent. This picture tells a story. It has been an awesome experience with students and staff. This picture tells the story of some former students from Claremont who recognized me when I stopped by for their advanced Spanish class at Wakefield. As soon as I walked in, the students started saying, "Miss Johnson, Miss Johnson." We spent a few minutes going down memory lane, but of course I didn't recognize them because they have changed and matured in so many ways. But what a pleasure it was. Our time ended quickly, but not without the students requesting a picture, and here they are. It has been gratifying to spend time in schools talking to students and staff. The journey continues for each and every student and truly requires us to provide the funds necessary to sustain excellence and remain responsive to the needs of each student. We also must recognize that students are on a continuum, and excellence means meeting the needs of our students, whether it's a need for additional rigor, additional support, or offering course options that reflect their interest and future needs. Always at the center of my decisions have been considering what is best for students. I've done this in partnerships with schools and families, and all in an effort to ensure greater success. It is a journey. The journey continues, and we are in it together to ensure that we do what is best for each and every student and staff. And it is through this lens that I present the interim superintendent's proposed budget. I want to begin by thanking the school board, the executive leadership team, our principals and staff for their support in crafting this budget and working collaboratively to present what I believe to be a sound and conservative needs-based budget. One that takes into account the unusual budget pressures presented this year while preserving the high-quality curriculum, programs, and staff that our community has come to expect. I also want to thank our partners in Arlington County for their commitment to education and the strides that the county board and county manager have made to meet our needs and demands of our growing school division year after year. We also heard the voices of the community. In past budget years, we began early messaging about our deficit, which is ever-changing. This year, we took a different approach and took our time to crunch the numbers, identify efficiencies, and provide a more accurate picture of our budget outlook. Today's presentation was developed in collaboration with my team after careful deliberation and consideration to find creative solutions to address our budget needs with greater sensitivity to the community's perception about the budget process and how it individually affects them. Now, this brings me to the unique challenges that we are facing as a school division this year. In response to recent program evaluations for students with special needs and English learners, and the requirements being mandated by the Department of Justice settlement agreement, this needs-based budget begins to address these requirements and recommendation. You will also find that this budget responds to the school board's budget direction to provide compensation increase for all staff at every level. While this is a step in the right direction, we also recognize that in the past years we have sacrificed appropriate compensation increases for staff to remain competitive and retain the highly qualified instructional team that we have attracted to our high-achieving school division. Trends are beginning to demonstrate that neighboring school divisions have surpassed our compensation package, creating another challenge in an era of teacher shortage. We have been fortunate to be shielded from the effects of the teacher shortage that has been felt by other school divisions in Virginia. And while we have been shielded, we are beginning to feel the effects. This means we need to act now and enhance our compensation package to keep our highly qualified, valued, and talented team and to attract the best of the best to continue delivering a world-class education. It was also imperative to find opportunities to realign our service delivery in areas where this was feasible while maintaining excellent instructional program and social-emotional supports needed for our students to thrive. This budget includes this approach to assist with our budget deficit. This conservative needs-based budget is no frills and includes our basic needs to serve our students and staff. We have made tough decisions and recognize that if we do not get the funding to close our $27 million gap, we will need to realize further reductions and eliminate the tiered needs represented in this budget. We must continue to work to align to the APS strategic plan with the mission to ensure all students learn and thrive in a safe, healthy, and supportive learning environment. We do strive to be an inclusive community that empowers our students, and we are committed to our core values of excellence, equity, inclusivity, integrity, collaboration, innovation, and stewardship. In the fiscal 2020 budget, the board made a significant investment to hire a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer and a partnership coordinator, which aligns to the goals of our strategic plan. We are excited to see those investments come to fruition and have threaded the resources to fulfill on this work throughout this budget. I am confident that the needs outlined in this budget will keep us on track and prepare us for the sustainable future. And I know it will take our continued partnership with the school board, staff, and county to get us there. The school board gave clear direction on what was to be included in the budget. It includes present a needs-based budget that aligns to the strategic plan, emphasize our top priorities as seen on this slide and embedded in our work throughout the year, provide a compensation increase for all, and if possible, continue initiatives started in previous budget years, and provide for the recommendation and requirements outlined in the program evaluation for English learners and students with special needs, and the DOJ settlement agreement. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, this budget honors our commitment to students, staff, and the community. So let me share how you will see it represented in this budget. Our commitment to students starts with closing the opportunity gap. We are also committed to providing what students need to become college and career ready, inclusive environments that are safe and welcoming with the right mix of course options. Our commitment to staff with providing competitive and equitable compensation for our entire staff. We are also committed to providing professional learning to all that is relevant and consistent, and to providing ample time for learning and practice. We want to ensure our staff has voice and choice and continues to be proud to work for Arlington Public Schools. Our commitment to the community begins with providing world-class education for our students. We want everyone in Arlington to be proud of our school system and to see value added to the county as a result. We also want to ensure we are thoughtful and prudent with our fiscal resources and that our schools continue to be safe, welcoming places for all. So in developing the fiscal 2021 budget, we faced a number of challenges and pressures from outside of the school division. As a result of decisions at the state level and actions by neighboring school divisions, we are facing a number of challenges. The Virginia retirement system contribution rate increases by 6% for next year at a cost of an additional $2.2 million. As we add more staff each year, the cost continues to climb. The General Assembly is poised to pass a decrease in the state-mandated school counselor ratio at the elementary level that will require additional school counselors. Our middle and high schools currently meet the new ratio at those levels. While this change provides an opportunity to better serve our students, it places an additional strain on resources. Over the past several years, our neighboring jurisdictions have made significant investments in their compensation. Where APS used to be ranked at or near the top, the changes in the salary scale of our competing districts means that we are falling further and further behind. This makes it extremely difficult to achieve our strategic goals related to recruitment and retention of highly qualified staff. At the county level, the county manager's budget, at the direction of the county board, does not include a tax rate increase. And the county board has voted to advertise no tax increase for this year. While revenue is up overall, the additional revenue does not provide sufficient resources to pay for our increased enrollment growth and compensation increase. And we have significant challenges beyond these two expenditure needs. As it has for the past 12 years, our enrollment is projected to increase for fiscal 2021, bringing an additional 1,122 students. Our schools are crowded, with 44% of our schools exceeding their capacity. We are also facing substantial cost increases for challenges that we cannot control. Our students with special needs require more services, both in and out of the classroom. Our transportation needs continue to increase. We need additional funding in order to provide substitutes and ADA accommodations for our growing teacher cadre, and our health insurance premiums continue to rise. And now I'd like to review some highlights of our budget. This graph provides an overview of our enrollment from 2000 to 2029. Since 2007, our enrollment has increased by 50%. Over the next 10 years, enrollment growth will level off somewhat, growing an additional 10% over the next 10 years. The consequences of this extraordinary growth is that we have a plethora of needs, not just in the classroom and the schools, but also in our support departments. As our square footage has increased, so have our maintenance needs. APS has 20% more square footage to maintain than it did a decade ago, and our buildings are 10 years older. The number of staff in APS has increased 30% since 2010. This results in increased demands on staff in our central departments, such as teaching and learning, who provide professional learning, curriculum, coaching, and other services to our staff. There are also increased demands for human resources who provide payroll, benefits, licensure, and other services to our employees. Increased enrollment has resulted in the need for increased capacity, which has led to an increase in the number of procurements for construction-related services, as well as day-to-day purchasing needs. Our needs-based budget for fiscal year 21 totals $725.9 million. The revenue shown here is based on the county manager's proposed budget. We are requesting an additional $27.5 million in revenue from the county to meet needs outlined in fiscal 21 budget. In response to the school board's direction to provide compensation increase for all employees, the budget includes step increase plus a 1.6% cost of living adjustment. We have done a step for the past 4 years. However, the COLA has not been given in the last 4 years. If you were not on a step scale, you would not have received a raise with a step increase. If you are at the top of the scale, you would not have received a raise with a step increase. And if you were on longevity, you would not have received a raise if you were in between longevity steps. The fiscal 21 budget also includes the funding we need to continue to provide support for instruction. Funding is included for our increased enrollment, for requirements under the DOJ settlement agreement, for students with special needs, and for our transportation office. Textbooks for science, math, and French are also funded. We have also provided funding to maintain our operational infrastructure in this budget. Included in fiscal 21 is increased funding for custodial and maintenance needs, human resources supports, safety and security, and utilities. As indicated previously, this budget includes a step and a 1.6% COLA. This reflects AEA's compensation proposal from last year, which indicated APS should annually provide a step increase and a cost of living adjustment based on the Social Security increase for the year. This chart shows the growth in enrollment and the cost per pupil since fiscal year 2009. Our cost per pupil increase of 6.9 is primarily because of enrollment growth, compensation, and increased funding needed for English learners and students with special needs. Again, enrollment is projected to increase by 1,122 students, or 4%. We are proud of the money we spend on our students. We are using our resources efficiently to meet students' significant needs, and we refuse to compromise on the quality because our students matter. Projected enrollment growth requires us to add staffing. As reflected on this slide, you will need a total of $12.8 million for our increased enrollment next year. For fiscal year 21, we are providing $1.6 million in funding to continue to phase in those initiatives that were begun in prior years' budgets. Funding for the expansion of Arlington Tech program is provided along with additional technicians for APS to meet the SOQ requirements of 1 technician per 1,000 students. We also continue to add bus drivers and attendant positions so that every bus route is covered by a full-time position. In order to meet the requirements outlined in the DOJ settlement agreement, the budget includes $3.9 million to fund a significant number of additional EL teachers, as well as translation of essential documents. In response to the recommendations from program evaluation for students with special needs, this budget includes $6.6 million in funding for additional instructional and support staff. Increased enrollment also brings with it the need for additional transportation services. This budget provides $1 million in additional drivers, attendants, and office support to manage increasing needs in the transportation office. So next, I would like to review the steps we took to reduce our deficit for the fiscal year 21. I believe it is important to be fiscally responsible by reviewing the existing allocation of funds and use of resources to identify ways to realign resources through collaboration between central and school-based staff. Additionally, we review efficiencies in our baseline budget and make adjustments to our delivery models as needed in an effort to better meet the needs of our students. We also use reserves as needed. As an example of service delivery model changes, you will see on the next slide that we are realigning the FLES resources to meet other instructional needs, such as English learners and students with special needs program. As I mentioned, we needed to realign resources in an effort to meet our students' needs. This means that the FLES program will no longer be offered in our schools, so we can realign those resources to use them where they are needed most. The information on this slide speaks to the consideration needed in response to recommendations from the English Learner and Students with Special Needs Program Evaluation and the DOJ Settlement Agreement. This process resulted in a reduction of $6.2 million in the fiscal year 21 budget. On this slide, you can see that for fiscal year 21, we are using $18 million in reserves to offset one-time costs and mitigate ongoing cost increases. In the fiscal year 20 budget, we used $11.6 million in reserve. So we need to bear in mind that our reserves are being depleted and must be replenished, which is becoming harder in our closeout as our closeout funds continue to decrease. So many of the decisions that we made in building this budget were not easy. In our effort to honor our commitment and remain competitive, there were many factors to consider. In the next few slides, I will share that we will not be able to provide in this year's budget. I will share what we will not be able to provide in this year's budget if we do not get additional funding. So I want to stress that I am not pleased to present these options, and I will reiterate that the tiered items that will be eliminated are additions that I believe are needed to continue to deliver on our commitment. So as you can see here, even if we eliminated all Tier 3, Tier 2, Tier 1 requests, except for staffing for English learners and the one-to-one assistance, and eliminated the compensation increase, we would still have a deficit of $10 million. If we did not receive the entire $27.5 million in additional revenue that we are requesting, then we would have to eliminate all Tier 3 requests from the budget. If we receive less than $24.8 million in additional revenue, then Tier 2 requests would have to be eliminated from the budget. If we receive less than $23.4 million in additional revenue, then we would have to eliminate all Tier 1 requests from the budget except for staffing for English learners and one-to-one assistance. Should we receive less than $20.5 million in additional funding, we would have to eliminate the compensation increase. While the compensation increase cost is $18 million, because we are providing $7.75 million from the compensation reserve to partially offset the increase, the net saving is only $10.25 million. Even with all these reductions, we would still be faced with a $10.2 million deficit. So the next few slides show our budget breakdown and considerations that we have to contemplate as we prepare for future budget years. This chart provides a breakdown of how the funds will be spent in fiscal year 21. Salaries and benefits comprise 77.8% of the total budget. Education is a service industry, which translates to people, and it's the people that matter. Debt service is the second largest expenditure at 8.3%. Please note, our total expenditure figure assumes additional revenue will be provided to make up the $27.5 million gap in the proposed budget. This chart outlines how the budget is distributed across funds. The school operating fund is the largest fund at 83.4%. In the school operating funds, salaries and benefits make up 91.9% of the total. Again, it's the people that make the difference. As expected, debt service is second largest fund. This chart outlines our are revenue resources in the fiscal '21 budget. County transfers comprise 78.8% of the overall budget, but this does not include the additional request of $27.5 million. State revenue remains at 12.2% for the fiscal year '21, and use of reserves is up from 1.7% in fiscal year '20 to 2.6% in fiscal year '21. So as I present this budget, we are always thinking about the future, and this slide provides future considerations as we continue our journey. These future considerations will continue to create budgetary pressures, but as a world-class school system continuing to strive towards excellence, we must meet these needs. So a few takeaways are, this is an unusual year with increased external pressures. We have already incorporated $6.2 million in reductions by realigning resources. We must consider a compensation increase for all employees to remain competitive. We must make a commitment to quality programs and preserve services that our students need. And we must provide additional resources to support operational excellence. This slide provides the fiscal year 2021 budget calendar between now and budget adoption. It reflects the work that will be necessary to address the budget deficit while making every effort to honor who we are with a true commitment to our students and staff. So let me end this evening by stating that I believe my proposed needs-based budget is based entirely on the needs of our students and staff. It honors our commitments, and it helps us to remain competitive. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for that presentation. We really appreciate the work that you and your staff have done to get us to this point and to tonight. We look forward to working with staff and yourself and to continue developing a budget to meet the needs of the school division in the coming year. And we're now going to take a brief recess and move to our work session setup. Thank you.